What is up? This is Tom Froming, aka TF Twins here, and we're talking about Twins starting pitching trades. I think that's the biggest thing we're all looking forward to once this lockout finally ends, is potentially seeing if the Minnesota Twins are going to be active on the trade market for starting pitching. They kind of laid back and let the starting pitching free agent market unfold without getting too active. They signed Dylan Bundy, of course, but there are some attractive names still out there. But let's talk about some trade ideas that have been thrown out by other sources. We're going to start at Dan Hayes of The Athletic. Let's get right into it. All right, so here we are at The Athletic. Before we get into this piece, I just want to throw out, this one was by Dan Hayes. Aaron Gleeman, obviously, is with The Athletic as well. Go ahead and support them. I always feel a little odd showing paywall stuff, but I usually wait a couple days. This is a couple days old now. Definitely recommend a subscription to The Athletic. It's worth it, even just for Twins coverage. It's worth it, let alone all the other great stuff you get. But Dan Hayes, this was a really fun piece because he actually reached out to some other writers at The Athletic, writers of other teams, to sort of test his logic behind these trade ideas and bounce their ideas around. So I'm going to kind of hide those parts again, to sort of try to encourage you to subscribe to The Athletic and not give everything away here. But his first idea is that the Twins acquire Chris Paddack for Caleb Thielbar and Yohan Duran. I'm going to discuss the Twins side of things here first, and I think this is a package that, they could afford to give up. They could afford to give that up. Caleb Thielbar, coming off a tremendous season, definitely looks like he's a new pitcher. I'm not going to say that I expect him to tail off, but he is a reliever in his mid 30s now. And, you don't want to put too much of your trust or bank on those guys too much. If you can get some value in a trade for a guy like that, I think you do it. Yohan Duran's a guy I really like, but it is what it is. The guy he threw around 20 innings last year. I don't remember the exact number. And the clock is sort of ticking. He's already on the 40-man roster. So there's going to be a lot of pressure for him to be a contributor this year. And, is he going to stretch out enough to be a potential rotation helper? I don't know. It seems unlikely, to be honest, that to expect that, given how little he pitched last year. So I'm kind of viewing him right now as a bullpen guy himself. Now, he throws 100 miles per hour and has some other pitches that are intriguing. So, could be a very good bullpen piece. But at the same time, it's your best reliever, is only going to cover maybe 80 innings at the most. So I don't hate the idea of trading him away. So how about Paddack? How about the guy coming to the Twins? Well, his stock is down a bit. Definitely, no doubt about it. His stock is down a bit. But something that I find attractive about him is he has so much time before free agency yet. He has 3 seasons of team control still, which could be huge to get a rotation piece to plug in there for 3 seasons. That would be such a big get, because even though there's a lot of guys coming through the minor leagues, and Duran being one of them, as rotation help pieces potentially for the Twins, this is a guy who's already been doing it. And, obviously we see that he's sort of trended down, even with the shortened 2020 season, and then last year looking even worse. But, as a rookie in 2019, he was incredible for San Diego, a sub-1 whip and a almost 5 strikeout to walk ratio with a 3.33 ERA. And even though Paddack has slipped some, definitely over the last 2 years, that's undeniable. It is interesting to note that although he had a 5.07 ERA last season for San Diego, his FIP was only 3.78. And then there you see the difference of 1.29 now. That some of that is, you can't bank on him bouncing back just because of that, but I do think he would be an interesting buy low candidate. And if you think about it, a year or two ago, it would have cost a whole heck of a lot than Caleb Thielbar and Yohan Duran. So I would like this trade. I would do this trade if I was the Twins for Paddack and see what he's got. All right, so the second trade that Dan throws out here is for the Twins to acquire Frankie Montas from Oakland for Austin Martin and Matt Cantorino. So, interesting here. I think we're getting a much more attractive name coming to the Twins, but then quite a hefty prospect haul here. Austin Martin, clearly, obviously the guy who came over as the main piece in the Brios trade. It would be pretty strange to see him then shipped out for a pitcher this early. And then Matt Cantorino, who is electric. Another guy who only threw less than around 20 innings last year in the minor leagues. So there's a lot of questions about where he's going to be. And that was in low A as well. So Matt Cantorino, it's hard to really envision him being a contributor to the Twins in 2022, unless they want to put him in the bullpen. Then it would be a lot easier to fast track him. And just like Duran, if you want to put Cantorino in the bullpen, I think he could be a very valuable bullpen arm to the Twins. Martin, most places have Martin as their number one Twins prospect, and he's just got a huge profile, an incredibly high floor prospect in Austin Martin that you'd be sending out, one of the top prospects in the system. So this is a hefty package for sure. But Frankie Montas, again, he is much more exciting than Chris Paddack. So here we are back at Baseball Reference taking a look at Montas. He does have one fewer season of team control. So he only has 2 years of team control for Frankie Montas. So it'd be interesting. You traded Jose Barrios when he had that half season and then 1 year of team control. Well, now he signed an extension. But at the time, you were only trading a year and a half of Jose Barrios for that package. And then it would be weird to turn around and then flip Martin for 2 years of another pitcher. But, again, this is a guy who's pretty exciting, a lot more exciting than Paddack. And his numbers don't really do justice quite as much to how he finished. Montas got off to a pretty slow start. So to finish with a 3.37 ERA, and again, he pitched a hefty 187 innings last year, over 200 strikeouts. This is a legit top of the rotation starter. This is a legit number one. I think a guy who can be considered an ace. The only thing that's maybe sort of keeping him from that title is he doesn't have the track record. But, it's not like he didn't have any kind of success in the past. A guy who finished sixth in the Cy Young voting. Montas only having 2 years of team control, it does, and I think I'm a little bit more willing to trade both of those guys than a lot of other people, but I would really feel a lot better if it was for somebody who had 3 or more years of team control coming back to the Twins in that kind of a deal. So I'm not saying that this is a definite no for me, but it's not a definite yes. And this might be the one I'm most interested in hearing what people's thoughts are on this, because he is such a good pitcher. But it is, one of the top prospects in the system that you just got, and Matt Cantorino, who could be really good himself for 2 years of Frankie Montas. It's tough. It's that 2 years is the tough thing, because if you think about it, if we think about Jose Barrios, it's like really the final year. Are you even going to keep that final year? So it's you may only be able to think of Frankie Montas as a 1 year guy, and that an asset you're maybe going to flip the next year. If you don't have intentions of re-signing him to a contract extension, and he's almost 29. So, I'm not sure if a team like the Twins is going to be all that hyped to try to extend him anyway. And then idea number 3, again, these are from Dan Hayes at The Athletic. And again, I want to encourage you to go and read this article there as well. But this is acquiring Tyler Mahle from the Reds for Trevor Larnach, Jordan Balazovic, and Randy Dobnak. So again, this package, you gotta give something to get something. You gotta give something to get something. So of course, anytime we see a more attractive name coming to the Twins, and Tyler Mahle, I think is kind of underrated. We'll get to him in a second. But when you see a guy that you'd really want, obviously guys that you don't feel so good about giving up are going to be in that return package. Trevor Larnach, he came up. He wasn't ready. Definitely wasn't ready last year, in my opinion. One of the guys that got hurt quite a bit by the lost 2020 season. And, he's got very limited time above high A. He's got about a half season in Double A and then barely played in Triple A last year. So it's hard to put too much stock into his numbers that he put up at the major league level last year. But regardless, kind of what you think about Larnach, and I like him quite a bit, there's no denying that this organization has a lot of corner outfielders. It has a lot of left-handed hitting corner outfielders. So even though if you like Trevor Larnach a lot like I do, he does feel like kind of an extra piece. Jordan Balazovic is a guy who doesn't have as many concerns about his innings. He had some performance inconsistencies last year that kind of bummed me out to see, but he was working on changing his changeup from a traditional changeup to more of a split finger, sort of Kenta Maeda style changeup, if you will. So take that with a grain of salt. His ERA looks better, but he gave up a ton of unearned runs that weren't, totally not his fault. Randy Dobnak, I really don't have any concern about trading, other than it does thin out the starting pitching depth some. Again, not too concerned about giving him up. I think he could work himself back into a nice piece for the Twins, but he's not if we're getting a legit established major league starter, I'm not really going to sweat losing Randy Dobnak in that deal. So Tyler Mahle, he is a guy much like Montas with 2 years of team control left. He's 27 years old. And again, I don't think he's one of the bigger name players because he's been kind of developing. I don't think he was all that hyped either. And, you put together a season like he had really these 2 years in 2018-19, kind of become a bit of an afterthought. It's sort of hard to get yourself back into, kind of people's minds. But this dude was a beast. And again, much like Montas, he pitched well and, there's no innings concern. This guy is ready to be, kind of at the top of a rotation. Particularly obviously you would be the most established starter on the Twins. Again, 200 strikeouts. You see that 3.75 ERA, the whip at 1.23 last year. And, he had a 3.28 strikeout to walk ratio. Right now, it's so hard to say no to any trade that would be adding good starting pitching to the Twins. So I can't straight up say no to this trade. I don't know that it's a yes for me, but it's definitely closer than the Frankie Montas deal. Gosh, and I think the package is good. It would hurt to lose those guys. Again, I really like Larnach and I like Balazovic, but I would do this one. Because I think as much as I like Larnach, he does feel like an extra piece. And Martin, even though Martin, he's not a shortstop and he's got the center field thing going on with Buxton, he could play second, he could play third, he could play so many other places and maybe fill in emergencies at shortstop. That he's a more movable piece around everything else you have going on, where Larnach is only going to ever really play corner outfield or DH. You've already got Kirilloff, who's around the same age, is going to be doing the same thing. Max Kepler has multiple years of team control still from that extension, and you got some other guys coming up. So this one I would do. It's close, but I would do this one. And then the last one I want to throw in here was from Dave Gaspar over at Fansided's Brewer site. I think this is Reviewing the Crew. Yes, Reviewing the Crew. So they have kind of an extra arm, the Brewers do, Adrian Hauser. So he's kind of trying to build up a trade to find a new destination for him. And the trade package he threw together was Miguel Sano and Steve Hadger, plus $2.75 million in cash. Miguel Sano, I think, we just kind of talked about it with Trevor Larnach. This team doesn't really need any more corner guys. Now, Sano hits right-handed, which that's kind of valuable with how many other lefties there are on this roster right now. But, he doesn't bring a lot defensively to first base. If Milwaukee, the NL, gets the DH, you could see some of them seeing him as an attractive piece there. Sano only has this year and then a team option for next year. I'm not sure if the Twins are going to want to pick that up anyway. Trading Miguel Sano, it could work out horribly. He's a guy, when it's going well, he is amazing. He always, is among the league leaders in hard hit rate. But he also bottoms out sometimes too. And, he's a guy coming off an excellent second half to last year. But I'm not all that connected to him at this point. I don't hate the idea of trading him. Steve Hadger was a Twins second round pick last year. An interesting guy. Did not make his debut last season, but definitely is a guy to keep an eye on in the system as a prospect, as a college arm who's probably going to work through the system fairly quickly. I don't hate the idea of trading him either. Now, Adrian Hauser, that's where I sort of have the problem with this trade. So Adrian Hauser, he's about to turn 29. On the plus side, he does have 3 years of team control, so that's great. However, he's got a sparkling ERA. But if you look beyond that, I don't really love what I'm seeing. And even his career ERA In 325 and a third innings, he's got a 3.73 ERA, very strong. That was 3.22 last year. This is a guy who made 26 starts through 142 innings. But Hauser, this is sort of the thing that really concerns me is, 6.6 strikeouts per 9 is horrible in 2021. And then that comes with a four walks per 9. So his strikeout to walk ratio is 1.64, which is horrible. Basically, he limited home runs extremely well, less than a homer per 9. This trade doesn't interest me. Maybe I'm missing something on him. If you think I am, let me know. But as hard up as the Twins are for pitching, that doesn't mean that they should just go out and, trade any kind of assets that they have for established pitching. So let me know what you think about those 4 trade ideas, which are the ones you would do or not do. And let me know, we got new look here. You may have noticed if you're a regular watcher. Let me know what you think of the new setup behind me. Most of the same stuff came over from the old setup, but let me know what you think. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more Twins talk here on YouTube. Thank you.